Women have not advanced to the top echelons in the property sector, whether as property owners or as leaders of established companies. That's according to the Women's Property Network. The organization says there's none or very few listed property companies that are led by women, and that gender transformation has been slow. It is also about fixing glaring gender disparities that are endemic in the sector. Today, as we continue to celebrate Women's Month, we are joined by Dineo Mlomo, who is a property expert from Dineo Mlomo Properties. Good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you so much.
All right. What made you to be interested in the property industry? Because it has been known as a white-dominated industry of older men, retired women who have been benefiting from this sector ever since the years of 1994 and backwards.
I would call that the old definition of the industry. It's evolved a great deal since then. Yes, I note what you quoted a little bit earlier from the Women's Property Network. It's been slow in terms of transformation, but it's definitely something that's quite exciting. I got into it purely by era, and it was just from an interest that I had from liking and loving looking at real estate or property and being able to assess and determine whether one property could be bought by one individual and what kind of a family unit would fit into that profile.
Well, there has been an argument that the barriers of entry to this sector are really high and it is really costly exponentially. And for a person like you and as a woman, how did you make it?
I would actually say that I'm still making it. I'm still climbing that ladder. I'm not quite there yet. Yes, it is difficult. I definitely say that because, as you say, barriers to entry are quite complex in the sense of what's needed for an individual to actually get in, start to market and be able to run a business. Being an estate agent versus being a property agency owner are two very completely different things. And at the moment, transformation is actually looking for women ownership or even black ownership. And in order for one to be able to acquire that, you definitely need some amount of money.
Tell us the difference between ownership and being an agent.
Look, it's easier to get into the industry and be an agent because then the requirements would be lessened as compared to being a business owner. It would mean that you would be recruited by an estate agency company, and I do have a personal opinion to saying that it favors a certain age group. I know the youth at the moment are in desperate need of jobs. However, there are quite a number of other professions within the property sector. I can count up to about 48 different types of professions that one is able to endeavor into. But if you're going to choose to become an estate agent, then it's good that you can invest your time and experience of at least going under the wing of somebody with experience and work for at least a minimum of about 3 years.
When it comes to experience, there has been education versus experience being pitted against skill and age.
Absolutely.
So now, what are the pros and the cons of having both?
That's an excellent question because without education and that experience, it's difficult to even achieve the transformation part of things. So what you actually need is a good combination of both. So this is one career where you are able to start on the education part of it while you are getting into the experience. The NQF level 4 and 5 qualifications, which is what you require in order to get in as an estate agent, actually allow you to work while you are studying, and I would strongly advise that.
Yeah, well, gender disparity and lack of education are obstacles to access and advancement in the property sector. Now, the question I have for you is, has there been transformation and is it enough?
There has been, but unfortunately it's quite slow, and no, it isn't enough. And again, in transformation, we're talking a variety of things, but most important, we're talking ownership, and we're also talking seeing the women in high-end executive positions and, being, acquiring equity in some of these companies, and that has definitely taken a slow turn.
The frustrations in the property sector are not only about the owners and the agents, but it's also the clients themselves. You find discrepancies like if somebody has bought a house and there's a tenant who doesn't want to leave the property, he has to be evacuated legally, and it's a long drawn-out process for the person who has acquired that property legally through a banking institution. With your kind of experience and the job that you do, what value are you adding in terms of resolving problems that are experienced by members of the public?
It's quite difficult, I must be honest, because, you know, when you have the law siding predominantly with the tenant because of their rights, it's difficult for one to want to even venture into being an investor in owning property, because those are your fears. But yes, there's a number of things that you can look out for and endeavor to do, such as gaining an experienced estate agent to manage your property so that you can avoid those kind of pitfalls, but also to assess who you are putting into that property so that you don't have to get into that kind of arguments. There are all kinds of processes that you can follow in order to make those assessments before you can put that person in.
And another thing that requires your expertise is about somebody who has bought a house and they would find that actually that house was not bought. The money was taken away, the estate agent has disappeared. Is there any kind of recourse that a property owner has, legally speaking?
There is, most definitely. I mean, if there's no paperwork to back up what has actually happened as far as that transaction is concerned, we can definitely follow the paper trail. But there aren't too many organizations, and mine is one, that actually resolves and looks at attending to solutions such as the ones that are unexpected or unusual to come about in the industry. And we need more of companies of that sort that are able to solve problems and come up with creative solutions. Remember, the typical South African is in need of land as well as a property and a roof over their head. And it's not an easy way of accessing things if you're going to hijack it.
With the ongoing debate about the land issue, which you have already alluded to, there is a young entrepreneur who says he wants to get into the property market, but it is white dominated and the market is very saturated. And access to the land also is a problem. What is your view concerning this issue?
You know, we'll have to dedicate an entire show. I think you should extend another invitation so that we can actually get into that debate and discussion regarding land, because it definitely won't, suffice for me to just give it in 5 seconds. But for that young individual who wants to get into the industry, by all means, even the white-owned companies with experience, and I'm talking about the popular names such as Pam Golding, Remax, Seif, you name them, and Dineo Properties are definitely willing to welcome you and actually give you assistance to getting into the industry. Get in touch with me, I'll do something about it.
Well, I'm taking that challenge because I am going to take you on the issue of land. So in the interest of time, let's pack the issue of land and you're going to come back to the studio, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, now that you have made your promise, your parting shot about women who want to get in the property industry?
You know, if I were to actually give any young female individual who has a passion and an interest as far as property is concerned, I would say have a look at the different types of careers that are there. There are architects, there are conveyancers, there are town planners, you name it. Estate agency is only just one of them. And it definitely is quite fulfilling once you get it right. And if you're looking to be a millionaire, besides for you taking your shot at gambling, I would say definitely give it a try to get into property.
All right. Thank you so much for making time to talk to us. All right. Dineo Mlomo Property expert from Dineo Molomo Properties, who has just challenged us to discuss the issue of land extensively. And we are saying, bring it on, Dineo, and we will keep you posted on the arrangements to have that discussion right here on SABC News. We're going to take a